about your simple system, then workgroup and domain concept. Okay. So first of all, we'll see a simple thing about a single desktop or a laptop, you can say. Okay. A simple single system. Like you have a laptop, I have a laptop, you have a desktop, I have a desktop, like that. Okay. Individual system. So here it is. This is my computer. Okay. So this is my computer, of course. And I have an account. I have an account, right? Yeah. Last system I destroyed, means not destroyed, actually, I done something in it. So this is actually, I use this one as an example. Today I will use this one as an example. This is a little slow system because of, so I will make it as 4 GB. This is a virtual machine and this is a virtual box application. Okay. So here I need to show something like a machine kind of stuff. Just for some examples, I need a machine. Okay, let it. Guys, in this machine, you are logging with some user, right? You're logging with a user. So you have a user account. So your user account, with that user account, you can able to log in, right? This user account is also a local account. It means user account in the user account, your username is stores in a same device. The same, this computer only, in this computer only user information stores. Okay. User information stores in the same machine only. So that's why it is called as a local account. Okay. Your username and the password is stored in the same machine in local. Means the same PC only. And user authenticated and authorized by local system only. Okay. Your user is authenticated and authorized by your local system only. Because in this system, in your system, your username password is there. So obviously your username password will be authenticated. Understand, guys? The local account means okay.
Yes, sir.
Next. In a local accounts, there is a two type of accounts we have. One is generally administrator administrator account and a standard account. Administrator account, standard account. Two types of user accounts. Two types of accounts are there. What is this administrator account? What is the administrator account? For example, you want to change some settings. You want to change certain settings. Or you want to install some application. You want to uninstall some applications. Okay. So you want to give a certain permissions. You want to modify some permissions. You want to access. certain data, which is different users' data, he can do it. It means it is full green signal type. So administrator account can able to do anything in the system. Standard account. Another one is exactly say a standard account. What is this standard account? The standard account has a limitations. Standard account users can able to log in, can able to work, use an applications, can able to browse internet. But he can't able to uninstall some application. He cannot able to install some applications. He can't able to do some changes in the system, like settings. Okay, so there is a limitation for a standard account. There is usually no limitation for a administrator account. Okay. Of course, there is another user is called guest account is also there. Okay. So I'm not talking guest. Guest is cannot do anything. Just log in, do some work. His data is not saved in your system. That's simple guest. So user accounts are administrator account and standard account. If user account is administrator account, so you can install application and you can change settings in the computer. Standard accounts cannot do everything. User accounts are local accounts. In your system, usually your account is a local account. Local account users can user information, their password information stored in their local system only. The user is authenticated and authorized by the local computer only. What is meant by authentication? What is meant by authorization? Authentication means when you try to log in, user credentials or user um, identity should be verified. For example, my username is student and password is given as password. Okay. So I given a username and password. So what happened? So our system, this is same system, verify what is the user and password. Both are good. Then it is authenticated. Okay. What is authentication? Verification of user credentials or user identity. How it will verify? Their username or password or maybe through some keys. Some are using some private key kind of stuff. Okay. Not only user guys, also for a system authentication or a remote connectivity authentication. So authentication word is a very big sentence is there. Okay. For our system, simply say verification of identity, verification of credentials. So if it is correct, then it is authenticated. What is authorization? What is a authorization? Once it is authenticated, once the user is got authenticated, we are giving access. Is the user can able to access the system? Is user can able to access the printer? Is user can able to access the data? Can able to access this particular application? Can he change the settings? Can he install application? Can he uninstall application? These are the authorizations. So your system, your user, authentication and authorization by the local PC only. Okay. What is authentication? Verification of your identity or credentials by verifying user names and password. Authorization, allow user to access or grant access or deny access to the services or data or resources. Authentication and authorization. Yeah, guys, I have a system. So I am giving username and password. The user is local user to this machine and password is also stored here. When I given, so obviously I got my machine here. Okay. So I have installed so many applications. in this one. Don't worry about it. And that's why I should not disturb this one. I have to delete lot of data in it also. So these are a lot of big sizes data is also. We'll try. Yeah, here it is, my user. Okay, I'm going to change account settings. I will show the user. User info is a local account and is an administrator account. We'll go to this. Just to show, this is my user. Local account means user information stored in this particular machine only. And he is also administrator. It means he can able to do anything. He can able to install, uninstall an applications, can change the settings. He can access and he can give a permission to others. Okay, that is his user account. Simple single system wise I'm telling. Any other users are there? So we'll see family and other users. I have only one user, no additional users. If you want to add a user, you can add someone else this user. You can add a user from here. Add someone else to this PC. It is trying to connect with the Microsoft account, but we should not. So cancel it. Actually, I missed the point. Wait again. I will go to this. Yeah, this. The simple way is also there. Simply we can create another option. I don't want to add any Microsoft account to this piece. That is pure personal. Yeah. So you can put a username and password. Automatically that user is become a second user. And of course, my first user is already administrator. Automatically, second user is standard account. The standard account user cannot able to do any other things than accessing computer. Okay. You do not have by default permissions. He can use system, but he cannot change the settings. He cannot able to install and install applications. He can't modify anything. Okay. Of course, he can delete data. No. Okay, so that is local account. Is a, for an individual PC or a work group PC. This is the thing. So you are having your own individual PCs. You are having a one PC that's your PCs in a work group. So what it is, it contains a local account. Local account means the user and user information, password information, and authentication and authorization by your local computer only. I think that is enough. This showing differently. It is not showing local account here. It is showing some name slash username. Some name as a username. Okay. What is this? This is a domain name. This is a domain name. When it shows like this is a domain name. And this is username. Okay. So my computer is in the domain. I'm in an organization. This is my company laptop. My user is in a domain. Guys, understand what is a local computer and local account, user and password authentication means what is authentication and what is authorization, who is going to authenticate, who is going to authorize.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Next thing is workgroup and domain. Workgroup and domain. This also two explanations wise I have written. So what is this workgroup? What is the domain? Here it is again, same concept, but this is one single PC. This is what we are talking about, one single PC, right? If in case like a peer-to-peer type, same peer-to-peer is nothing but our workgroup. Okay, so here it is. I have a computers in the network, maybe a 10 computers, 20 computers in a organization. Okay, so they're all connected in the network. They're all connected in the network. So maybe you go to the internet center or maybe you went to the office organizations. There are computers and they are connected in the network. Simple. And everybody having a account inside. First of all, I will put a PC1, a PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6. So I have a totally 6 computers. I put a users here. It is like a Madhu is one of the user here, and here it is Sai, and this user is by Preet, Shiva, and some names is simple name, and so Asha is there. Very good. So Ramya, see this. These are the people working on these 6 systems, for example. Okay. So as I said earlier, all are individual computers, all are individual. So this Madhu user account stores in this local PC only. So PC1 is going to authenticate when Madhu is log into the PC1. PC1 is authenticate Madhu user account and authorize the user to access the computer, right? And PC2 is user account is Sai and he can able to log in, he can able to access the computer. Same goes for other users. There are their own local accounts. So this is called a work group. In the work group also, it is simple a group of computer connected in the network. So they have individual accounts in their PCs so they can work. For example, Madhu account is administrator account. So Madhu can able to access the PC1, can able to change the settings, can able to install application, uninstall applications of PC1 only. But Madhu cannot able to change anything in the PC2. Even he cannot able to log in. Okay, it same goes for other users. A user in the system is a local account. He can able to log in, he can able to authenticate, he can able to access the system. If he is an administrator, he can able to modify system settings, installation, uninstallation kind of stuff. He can do it, but he cannot manage other systems. He cannot log into other systems. This is the point number one. Okay. So here it is. What is our group? Decentralized administration. No centralized control. Every system or a PC has their own administrator. Every device has theirs have their own administrator, either this name or another name. So there is an internal administrator is there. There is an administration. Every device has their own administrator. One PC user cannot log into another PCs. User password setting information stores in their own computers, own PCs. Cannot control individually, so can control individually, not centrally. More number of systems are difficult to manage. So one more point is here. For example, the point I told, and then I will ask question. For example, Madhu system is stop working. Madhu system is stop working. And PC4 is available. Morning, Shiva is leave, and Madhu system is not working. Can Madhu can log into this Shiva PC? Cannot, right? Madhu cannot log into Shiva PC. So what can
Yes,
I able to do? Yes. What I can do? I have to create Madhu account here. Then Madhu can able to log in. Okay. So one or two instance, no problem. So otherwise I will give Madhu account, 1, 2 accounts, okay, no problem. Think like this. I have a 100 computers, simple number, 100 computers, or maybe 1,000 computers are there. People are working in a 3 shifts. All 1,000 computers are engaged, and 3 shifts of people are working. It means how many employees are working? 3,000, right? One computer is used by 3 members in a different shifts. In organization, one computer is used by 3 users. Now, think like this. One of the system is down. What about that shift user? What about that user? The system is down. He cannot log into other systems because all systems are busy. Maybe if system is available, he cannot create every time that accounts, right? So I don't know about your system is down and cannot create. And each and every system, you cannot create all accounts also. Like, of course, one account, 2 accounts are okay, but in a same system, for example, take PC5, I want to create a Madhu account, I have to create Shai account, I have to create a Afrid account, I have to create a Shiva account here, I have to create a Ramya account. It is practically difficult. Okay, so that is the one of the thing. Okay. So number
yes,
of users works in organization. Some people come, some people leave the organization. Again and again, you have to create an accounts in the individual pieces. It is becoming very difficult and lot of confusion in it. Okay. Next, another important point is, for example, guys, I'm using a system. So what I'm doing is I need, for example, Afreed need an application to install. And Ramya is need to some application should be. So what they will do is they will ask the common desktop support engineer, you will come and install an application in a work group. So if you are not an administrator account, so usually we will go into install an application. I have a 3,000 users, 1,000 computers. You have to implement a policy. For example, firewall setting has to be done for 1,000 computers. Firewall has to be set for 6 computers first. First of all, a firewall setting should be set for 6 computers. Can we do for 6 computers? I have to go to the firewall
yes, sir.
and then firewall.cpl, go to the firewalls.cpl, then go to the settings, go to advanced settings and do the firewall policy, right? Simple. We can go to 6 computers, we can do it. Think about, you have 1,000 computers or 100 computers. You have to do the settings. Can you go each and every computer to do it?
No, sir. Not
It's
possible.
a very difficult. It's not just difficult, it is very difficult. If more number of devices, difficult. Okay. This is the firewall set. Okay. Very difficult. So again, you need a bigger team to do that one also. So that is a difficult task. I put my background theme, some other team, and I created a lot of files in my desktop. For example, company put a policy that is, users should not create any data and should not put any data on the desktop. You have 10 computers. You go to check each and every computer, tell the person, don't put any data in the desktop. Put in some C drive, D drive kind of stuff. Don't put any data on the desktop. And I put some wallpaper, okay, in a desktop wallpaper. So company is restricted, like you do not put as whatever the wallpaper in background, put a default one, or company logo should be there in the default background. Okay. So, or a group of a specific type of users should access, there is 100 users, should access the printer. Others should not access the printer. So it is difficult to manage the service or requirements of people if there are in the large in the number. Okay, a large number of people are there. It's difficult to manage. Only specific group of people should access the printer, or maybe the users need an application to be deployed, or maybe an access permission should be given, or access permission should be denied. So those things we cannot go and manage individually. Okay, that is the issues at a work group model. What is the next model? Next model is a domain model. What is a domain model? Domain model is a centralized administration. A centralized administration kind of stuff. In this centralized administration, there is a server, and of course, you are having a computers, devices, and users are there. This is a domain controller, and our systems also connected in the network, same network. So same network means they should. What is a domain controller? Is nothing but a server. Domain controller is nothing but a server. Okay. So what is this domain controller contains? For example, I have a computers are there in my work group earlier. Now they have become a part of our domain. Okay. This domain controller maintains a database of users, computers, groups, and resources. Okay. So for example, which computer is joined to my domain? So that information is stored here. So I joined my C1 PC to the domain. So that information is in the my domain controller database. I joined C2 and I joined C3, I joined C4, I joined C5 only. So their information is available here. And I do not create any user in the local PCs. I will create a domain users here. This is C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 are domain computers, and user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5, user 6, user 7, user 8, like this, are created in the domain controller. So users I will create in a domain controller. Computers I join to the domain controller. So those computers in the domain called a domain computers. Users in the domain called a domain users. And our domain controller also having a domain administrator. Okay. So this administrator is administrator of all the domain computers and domain users. So we have a centralized administrator. Is an administrator of all. So it's a centralized administrator. And these domain users can able to log into any of the domain computer, any of the domain computer. Any of the domain computer. So today user one is login to the C1. Today user one log into the C1. User one log into the C1. So what will happen? Where is user one account is? User one account is in the domain controller database, not in my C1. C1 does not have a user one. C1 is in domain controller. Okay. So what happened? C1 send a request to the domain controller from C1. A request go to the domain controller, verify username user1 with his password. When domain controller verifies it, it authenticates that user and authorize the user, and it will give the information to C1. So user one can able to access C1. Once again, I'm telling guys, user one is want to log into user one want to log into C1 computer. User one want to log into C1 computer. So you go to this user one like this. We put username and password in the C1 computer, but C1 computer does not have user one username and password information. So you cannot authenticate. So who will going to authenticate? Our domain controller will authenticate. Domain controller will authenticate so centrally. And our domain controller having a database of a user, our user one, and verifies the user one with the password. So it is got authenticated. So once it is got authenticated and it is got authorized, it will give a user one, yes, you got authenticated. Now you are authorized to access C1. So user one can able to access C1 computer. This is okay. So this is how it is works. Same goes for a user two. User two want to log into C2 computer, and what it will do, it send information to domain controller. Domain controller verifies user two and authorize and authenticate and authorize the user two, and then user two can able to log into this one. It's same as for a user four and user six and user three also. Okay, guys, understand the login?
So single user is fixed to single computer, sir.
Like this. For example,
Can,
user
can
one
we shift,
login
can,
today. Yeah.
okay, sir. Can we shift C1 into C2 computer and C2 to C1? If user one to user two, user two to user one.
Yeah. Right.
Like
Right.
they,
Yeah.
can we shift
Today.
like,
Okay.
okay, sir.
Okay. Once again, user one login today here.
Okay.
So user one can log in tomorrow here.
Okay.
It can able to shift. There is no binding here because
Okay.
users are in the domain, not in the local PCs. So these users can log into any of the domain computers.
Computer. Yes.
Okay. It's not like that. Today I log in here, tomorrow also I have to log in here. It's not like that. So it's not like my user account is created here also. My user account is not created here. It is created centrally. Okay.
Yes.
That's a good understanding. You understand. So one small point. This is C6 PC. It is also in the same network, but not in the domain. So can you see C6 name is not showing here. It's not
Yes.
showing here. So it is not joined into the domain. It is not joined into the domain.
So we have to configure in the domain.
No, sir. Break it, chain, break it, chain. Continuation. Time ಬರ್ತದೆ ಸರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ అయిపోయింది బ్రేక్ కూడా పర్వాలేదు వస్తాను బ్యాచ్ మీ బ్యాచ్ మీ బ్యాచ్ సాయి సార్ బ్యాచ్ నేను తీసుకున్నాను కదా సార్ For example, I try to log in with which one is left? User 7 in my C6 computer. So what will happen? It cannot log in. Why? Because of user 7 information is not there in user 6 and user 7 is not in the C6 computer and C6 computer not in the domain. If it is there in the domain, it will authenticate the domain user. If it is not there in the domain, it is outside of my domain. Even though all these systems are in same network, but they are in a different domain. Different, not in my domain. That's it. Okay. It is simply say a membership type. Are you in the same domain? Are you not in the same domain? That's it. Not more than that. This is called a administrative boundary. Those computers and users and resources in the domain is comes under one single authentication system. It is one single boundary. So that is called a domain. Domain is a logical entity, not a physical entity. It is. Domain controller is a physical because it is a server. Computer is a server. User is a identity part. Okay. So domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers and resources kind of stuff. For example, I have a printer. I have a printer. I just I put a printer in my domain. It's a resources, not a other things. It is a resources. I put a printer in my domain and I make that printer as a part of my resources. So printer name is print one, for example. Okay, this is a printer one. This is my resources. So this is also in a domain means it is a part of our domain. If it is not in a domain means it's outside of domain. So are you member of this domain or not? Every domain has a name. Every domain has a name. For example, 70s have a domain. So it is a 70s 70s.com is a domain name, not a website name. It is 70s is a one domain. So this C1, C2, C3 are belongs to 70s.com. Or maybe you put some other domain in this one, different names. So each domain depends upon organization. Usually organization put their own name as a domain name. Okay, that's the point I trying to. Guys, understand C6 point, what I told, this point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here it is thing. Okay. So again, once again, we'll see the reading. Okay. Domain is a centralized administration. Domain controller is a nothing but a server. Is it centralized controller? Domain having an administrator called domain administrator is admin for all systems in the domain. For everyone, a single or a domain administrator, common domain administrator is there. Not everybody having their own administrator. In a work group, every system has their own administrator account. But here it is, the system does not have any local administrator in this concept. It's a common administrator for everyone. So this is admin of C1, this is admin of C2, this is admin of C3, like that. So administrator of all the devices. You can enforce various type of settings to large number of users and computers using group policies. What is a group policy? So we'll see here. I told something, right? In my desktop, I have a lot of data and keep saving. So what I will do, I'll create a group policy. I'll create a group policy in my computer. In my domain controller, I will create a group policy. I enforce the group policy. What is that? I enforce a setting to the all the users or all the computers in my domain. I said, so users should not create anything on their desktop. Okay. There's specific group of users are there. For example, HR team is there. HR team is required to access printer. Required to access printer. So what I will do, I'll create a group policy. I'll create a group policies. In that one, I specify this HR users can able to access the printer. So only this HR will get a printer access. So maybe there are 100 HRs in my organization, maybe 20 HRs in my organization. All 20 members will access the printer. I have to deploy a firewall setting. So there is a specific firewall setting for my computers in the network. So what I will do, I'll create a group policy. I put that setting in the group policy. I enforce the setting to all the devices. That's what I'm written here. Enforce various type of settings. It can be desktop related or files related or settings related to firewalls or storage related. Okay, access related. Okay, so different. There are so many block, so many group policies are there. So many type of settings can be there. Printer access related, application deployment related. You can install application into different computers through the group policies. Okay, so to the large number of users and computers. Okay, so you can install and we can enforce the settings large number of users and computers using group policies. User information, computer, group, services, and resource information stored in your centralized system called a domain controller. Domain user can log into any domain computer. That's the point already I told. Domain user can able to log into domain, any of the domain computer.
So how can we make changes in domain controller, sir? Any application?
How can you create a domain controller?
No, sir. How can we make changes? How do we make changes in, like, if we want to add another computer or printer, like so?
Yeah,
Where do
we
we
have to
make
go
that sort of?
to domain controller, it is nothing but a server. Then you have to choose which one need to be changes. That's it. If you want to know that one, also I can show you that one. So this is done. I'm going to shut down. This is I open for a what is it is showing? Yeah, sign into Microsoft account. That is wrong. Now it is already 1 o'clock. Okay, now you have to go to the domain controller, and then in the domain controller, what you have to do is um, um, what are the changes? Like you want to add a user, add a user. You want to create a policy, go to the domain controller and create a policy. Okay. It is this small is enough because I put another picture here and this. Okay. Guys, understand difference between work group and domain, and I will going to give you another information is right now. Simple to understand work group and domain. That points also given. Yesterday, for another batch, I created this domain controller. Okay, I'll show you the server as possible. We'll try. Okay, this is a simple again explanation of work group. Okay. Here it is. I written normally it is Amit is a PCA user, Anand is a PCB user, Neetu is a PCC user, Shiva is a PCT user. It's a previous batch, those users are there. Okay. Example, Amit is a local administrator of PCA. So what he can able to do, he can change settings in a PCA, he can install, uninstall applications, he can give a permissions. Amit can change PCA. Amit can manage PCA, but not other PCs because he's an administrator in a PCA, not a centralized one. Okay. Neetu user information stored in PCC, not in other user. Means Amit information stored in A, Anand stores in B, Neetu stores in C, Shiva in D, not other system. So he cannot log into other PCs. Neetu user cannot log into other PCs. Make changes and settings given to every PC. You want to do any changes here? Like you have a 10 computers, 20 computers, 50 computers. So you are a desktop support engineer and you have to maintain all the computers. So you have to go to each and every PC and you have to do all the settings and manage the systems. Okay. But here in the domain thing, so here we don't do like that. So here it is, we do everything in the domain controller. We create a users in the domain controller. We add a client PC to domain. Okay. We add a client PCs to the domain. And we have added resources to the domain. So domain users can log into any domain computer. We can enforce different type of settings through the group policies from domain controller to others. So user information means username, password stores in your domain controllers only. Computer joined in the domain is called a domain computers. Domain in a users in the domain called a domain users. Domain user can log into in there any domain computers. Means user one can able to log into any of the domain computers, not outside of the domain. Domain admin account is admin for all the domain, all the devices in the domain. Domain user log into domain computer So when domain user is login to domain computer, domain controller authenticates the user, not PC1 is not authenticate user 1. Domain controller is authenticate PC1. Okay, that's a simple line of remembering things. Here it is in a domain, specifically I type here is domain is simply say a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. A domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. But I didn't write a domain. I put a AD domain. Have you seen? I put a AD domain. Why? Because check it here. Some people, when they want to try to search about a domain, and they search for a what is a domain. So when they're searching for a domain, it will give different type of answers. All are correct, but not exactly what we wanted. Some places it shows domain name means this particular URL. Okay, they're saying this is a domain name. They say this is the domain name. Okay, so but what I'm talking not a website kind of stuff, right? I'm talking about authenticating users in a organization. Okay, so that's what I'm talking, but that is not given here. Domain is a basic English name. Domain means I belongs to networking domain. I belongs to Java development domain. I belongs to specific cloud engineering domain. Okay, so there is a domain means a group. So when you try for a domain, it will show different type of answers. So when you are trying to learn about what is the domain, what I told, so that is put a AD in front of it. So that's you will get a proper answer for it. So it's a collection of objects in the Microsoft Active Directory network. An object can be single user or a group, or it can be hardware component such as a computer or a printer. Each domain holds database contains object identity information. That is a near to near means people write in a different ways. So but still it is good. This is also very good. Okay. For instance, this is AD domain advice and some information. So mostly it is will give Active Directory related domain information instead of some other things. That's why I written here AD domain, a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Why logical? Even though other devices in the same network cannot access domain resources, cannot authenticated by domain controller, cannot access domain resources, okay, cannot authenticated by any of the domain controller. Okay, so domain users, computers, domain resources are as a single group, so they can able to authenticate and authorize to access the device. Not this one. Yesterday, I picked some things from here. This is, and this one I wanted. Both I wanted. Where is that pictures? I typed it. Where it is?
Not pasted, I think.
Not pasted. We'll go to copy one by one. This is Microsoft. This is Google Docs. Okay. This is because that time system is showing a different part. So I will show again, but the system is already I used it. Guys, this is my domain controller. This is my domain controller. It's called as server. So where I put it in a virtual machine. So that's the point of virtualization. So I can put any operating system in the machine. And I configured this one as a domain controller. This is my domain name. This is my domain controller name. This is my domain name. This is my IP address. Here it is. And I created yesterday already two users in the same PC. Still it is not shutting down. So yeah, it is open. So this is my domain name, and these are the OUs. Inside these OUs, I created two users. Okay, and I added already a computer inside. This is my domain computer. These are my domain users, and this is my Windows Server 2019, and I make this server as a domain controller. I make this server as a domain controller. Okay. Client means this is shutting down and I have to check my resources. If I have at least 4 GB left, no. Availability RAM is very less. So compulsory this should be shut down. Okay. Meanwhile, guys, I'll show my system settings. System, about. See here it is. This is I'm already in a domain. Rename this PC. I'm already in a domain. I'm already in the domain. If I'm in the work group, it shows here work group. So it is change. I'm a member of domain. I'm a member of a domain. In this one, it is clearly showing it is in the work group. Okay, no problem. It is in the work group. So we need to increase the size. Yeah. Can you see same properties for this PC? It's showing work group. Name is work group. When I click on changes, it is a member of work group. Now you want to add this system to a domain. So what we will do, we'll member of domain, put a domain name, click OK, and it will get authenticated. It will get authenticated. If you want to know entire process, practical process, if you want to know, already I have created a lot of Windows Server kind of stuff. Okay, so do not worry about that one. Okay. So here is a service. I will put it separately. I copied a entire part of thing that is DHCP. That is entire part is DHCP. Okay. Okay. No problem. So only thing is why it is came to this much side. So that's the point. Now this is good. Still not good. So better keep it like this. Alignment is thing. Guys, understand this is how to add a client to domain. Okay. I cannot able to show the login kind of stuff because this is still shutting down. It take I don't know how much time. So meanwhile, I will give you information is about a Active Directory. Tomorrow, definitely I will show what is a domain and all kind of stuff. This another point is about a Active Directory. Guys, these domain concepts are from Windows NT. That time, there is a domain. There is a domain. It means for an organization, for that organization, there is a domain. In the domain, we have a domain controllers. We have a domain controllers called a PDC and BDC. Called a PDC and BDC, backup domain controller and primary domain controller. It means this is an organization. This is your organization. Okay. And the organization increases, right? So I have a Tata organization is there. In a Tata Steel is there. Tata other services are there. TCS is there. Tata Motors is there. So like that, organization is also increases, not in a one single site, multiple sites, and as well as multiple different enterprise services also included. Okay, so what they are doing that time is simply for each organization. So they will what they will do? They'll put it like this. They take another one. They take another one. Okay. So for each time of services, it will do. This is some Tata.com, the initial enterprise. Next, a steel industry came. Then they put a steel.com, steel. Tata Steel, okay. Otherwise, no dot coms that time because no FQDNs, no top level kind of stuff. Okay. The steel industry, it is like a Tata Steel. Okay. And then Tata Motors, for example. Okay. So they need to be in a one single organization. They need a communication in between. They need a communication in between. There is some employees working here and they need to be work to support this organization. So they need to log in this kind of organization, right? Maybe. Okay. They need to share information. They need to share information. They need to be work in different environments. So for like that. So the motors guys need a steel. So what they need to get understand what is it. They need to share information. They need to share resources. So what they done? So they created a trust relationship between these organizations. Trust relationship between these organizations. That is one-way trust, two-way trust kind of stuff is created between this organization. So this different organization in a single enterprise, so they can trust each other, so they can able to share resources. Understand, guys? Same enterprise, but
Yes.
different companies. All are into same, but if it is individual, so they cannot able to share anything. So need a trust relationship. But organizations become very, very bigger, right? Take Tata. Tata has so many companies under Tata. Reliance, earlier it is one or two companies. Now it is become unlimited companies. Okay, so Godrej, Bajaj, so different finance services, uh, like different services there are begins with, right? So what they have done, they created a simple and beautiful architecture called a active directory architecture. So it is simple architecture. To make it very simple, inside is a forest and a tree concept. Forest and tree concept. What is a forest? A forest represent an enterprise. So for example, there is a Tata organization. This is a Tata domain. So forest level root domain it is. It is called a root domain in the forest. Forest level root domain it is. This first domain. So then an enterprise is created. Your forest is created by creating the first domain itself. Okay. So second one is we will leave it. Okay. And remaining organizations are came up with, for example, steel.com. Tata Motors.com, TCS.com. So we should not find one data. Settlement. TCS. See, this is entire one single enterprise. In that one, we have a different organization. So automatically, these domains, without creating any specific trust relationship, they will trust each other. They can share a common resources together, informations, including users. Also, they can able to work directly without creating any multiple trust relationships. So these we call it as a trees. These we call it as a trees. This is tree domains. That is root domain. This is tree domain. Next. Organizations can be in a different places, and organizations, the sub place of domains also possible, right? For example, in a Hyderabad, we have a space is not enough. This is enough. This is enough. For example, I have a subdomain of existing any domain. So that is, for example, I have a Hyderabad site, Tata Steel .com is there. So this is called a child domain. Child having a parent name. We do not have a. This is called a child domain. Okay. This is tree. This is child. That is forest. Root domain. This kind of architecture is implemented with the Active Directory. So earlier Windows NT time, so we do not have that kind of, we are having it, but still there is a trust to trust relation. Everything should be has a go through this trust relationship part. Just picture purpose only, not just for names. Names are there. Okay. So what is an active directory? Actually, we need what is an active directory, not entire story. Then I will tell, I will give, will take a day off today. Okay. What is an active directory? It provide a directory services. Means it stores, it maintain the database and it authenticate and authorize. Okay. It authenticate and authorizes. So what is this? Active Directory database stores identity of users, groups, and computers and resources in the database. So Active Directory, what it is doing? It maintains the database. It contains the database of users, groups, computers, users, and resources. Where is this Active Directory data store? In the domain controller only. This all concept of domain only. I'm not talking about anything different. I'm talking about domain controllers only. I said domain, right? I told about a domain and this is the domain controller. How it is become a domain controller? By installing this Active Directory. We install Active Directory in a server, it become Active Directory domain. Okay. We install Active Directory services in a server, then it is become Active Directory related domain controller. It is become domain controller. What is an Active Directory? It will maintain the storage. It will maintain database. It contains your domain users, groups, computers, services, and resources information. Your Active Directory authenticate users and computers when they log into domain. Okay, exactly say Active Directory authenticate users when they log into domain computers. As I said, Active Directory maintain the database, right? Active Directory has a database. What is the database name? ntds.dit. What is the Active Directory database name? ntds.dit. Active Directory also authenticate users using authentication protocol called Kerberos and LDAP. Kerberos and LDAP. If you are search for a Active Directory is a Microsoft related, don't forget it. This Active Directory is introduced in a Windows Server 2000 operating system. Okay, Active Directory is introduced in a Windows Server 2000. This same Active Directory change it to Active Directory Domain Services. Change it to Active Directory Domain Services. Why it is changed to Active Directory Domain Services? Because there are several Active Directory services are introduced. In Active Directory, we have a forest concept, three child domains. Architecture is there. Of course, there is a certain things like a FSM rules and all there. All domains, here it is a point I want to add. All domains in forest is trust each other. Okay, that's enough. That's more than enough, guys. Again, what is a domain? Domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. This entire domain is maintained and controlled by domain controller. How a server become a domain controller? By installing a service called a Active Directory service. In this one, so here in this is my server and it is become a domain controller. So how it is become domain controller, I installed a role called a Active Directory domain services role. So you can see here it is ADDS I installed here. That's why it is showing it's become a domain controller. Yeah, it is. Now you can able to see this is Active Directory domain services I installed in this PC. So now it is a domain controller. And already, okay, guys, understand this point. I installed this service. Just 2 minutes. I will leave you. Okay, so a lot of time over. Okay, Active Directory, store database, Active Directory, database, stores, identity of stores, identity of users, groups, computers, and services in resources information. Active Directory authenticates users and computers when they log into domain. Active Directory authenticate users when they log into domain computer. Both the things you can say. Active Directory database is ntds.dat. Active Directory use authentication protocol is Kerberos. Active Directory services is introduced in 2000, and Active Directory is again name changed to Active Directory Domain Services in Windows 2008. So these are the main points of Active Directory. If possible, tomorrow I will try to show you that how user login and all. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Yeah. Anybody want to tell anything? Any questions? Please tell me. I'm already exhausted. Guys,
So it's
something you
also
speak
network
at least
controller.
completed. Huh? Tell me now.
So we are having networking. So this is also related to
Networking part is a major part of networking is completed. Everything is
okay.
network related, but this is servers and services.
Okay.
Okay, it's not a separate everything. Okay, so networking part, major part means networking is completed. I didn't stop in middle. Okay, only troubleshooting some commands. I will tell separately. So then there we will do some revision. Okay, so tomorrow I will continue this topic with the other services called DHCP and DNS. Okay, so tomorrow I will tell about DHCP and the DNS part I will tell, and then we will go for any other troubleshooting part also. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So here I written. So if you want to add a client PC to domain, so both should be communicate each other, and you should have a Pro or Enterprise editions, not a Home edition. Okay, that's okay, no problem. But still, look at the see what is Workgroup, what is domain, what is Active Directory. That's it. Not more than that.
Okay.
Compulsory